Hello, welcome back. All right, let's jump into the things. For today, we're going to talk about value as it pertains to graphic design, of course. I'll go over the project. I'm going to show you all again how to do a spot color so you can create the assignments correctly. And then I will go over practice number 6 so you know what to do there, because this switches to InDesign. As I said before, we're practicing kind of both of the vector programs just so you're familiar, you knew how to use them, and you know, just the more you use them, the better off you are. You know, that's why we do what we do. All right, let's jump into the value. Open up the file and come on down. All right, so the big difference here is we've talked about color, but now we're going to talk about value. And value refers to the relative lightness and darkness of a color or tone, often measured in a scale from black to white. That's often, you know, like I taught you about tints, tones, and shades, and monochromatic. You know, all those are combined values of what a color can be. When you're adding white to something, or it gets transparent, or you add black to it, or you add gray to it, those all change the value of the color. I can't think of a better definition. Like, I'm just saying, you know, the value of a color. So it has a lot of just a generalness to value because it encompasses so many different things. But, you know, if we want to get technical, values are used to depict the amount of light that a surface reflects or absorbs. You know, light values are associated with highlights, while dark values are associated with shadows. So that's just kind of one way to think about when we talk, you know, if we think back to the form, and we're dealing in form, the characteristics of value help define form. And that's why when we did it, we did that project, you used 3 bases, white, 50% gray, and black, to create those forms. And with those 3, you can make people feel that there's form there, even without gradations. You just put a little white highlight and a dark shadow on a gray piece, and those values help us define that this may be a form. So that's a good way to kind of go in and look at it, and then reference back to other things that you've learned so far in the class that dealing with all the elements of design. We have high contrast and low contrast. High contrast, the difference between light and dark values creates contrast, making objects and elements stand out. Contrast is one of the principles that we'll learn about later. High contrast is often used to draw attention to specific areas in a composition. So if everything is kind of like light and airy, and then you have something very intense in it, people's eye is gonna go to that high contrast area, like really dark. Like, say it's like a picture of a sky. Oh, this is perfect. If you look up in the sky and then you see a bird flying by, but the bird is black in the blue sky, creates contrast, and your eye goes to that flying bird because it's contrasting with the background, which is the light blue sky. Low contrast, closer values result in low contrast, which is that subtle, you know, clouds in the sky, or clouds just on a cloudy day. They all sort of blend in and are soft together. There's no harsh, you know, angles, edges, like it's like the buildings compared to the clouds. Or if you look at the horizon, you see where the land is dark meets the clouds, but the clouds have all low contrast, and you have a high contrast difference with where the horizon meets. So that's a good way to think about it, just looking out the window. They can use, as we just talked about, values are used for defining form, in helping with defining the 3-dimensional object. You know, you can't do it without it. If I created just a gray box, you'd be like, oh, that's just a gray box. It doesn't have, well, let's do it. If I can do it, I'll do it super quick. I'm just going to do it in gray. So if I do this, let's hold on shift to make this. Why is it doing that? Oh. So this shape we know is a cube, but if I color it in all the same gray, is it still a cube or is it just a shape? So when we talk about that, without all the information, the shading, this just becomes like a shape. It's not a form. It is just a flat shape on the ground. And then when we add, you know, if I add black to an edge, and then white, we start to define it as a shape. So that's how value helps define that. Always fun to just kind of play around like that. Really visualize that. So that's that. We can use it also, value can be used to establish hierarchy, which is very important in design. Hierarchy, you're going to start to hear about this more and more and more. What is the most important thing in the design? That needs to be big, bold, you know, stand out. We want people to see this one thing first. It's hierarchy. Then what do they need to see second? What do they need to see third, fourth? You know, it runs down. If everything was all the same, it would just be like you would be talking to somebody in a monotone voice where they didn't change the cadence of their voice or anything at all, and it sounds like a robot, and you don't know what parts are supposed to be like important. Hierarchy is like I get louder when it's more important and quieter when it's less important, and that's the same with design. And you can use that, you know, dark values to, you know, here, bold is here. I want you to see this first, and then come down and read these. They're not as bold, so there's a contrast in establishing the hierarchy. This is an intro paragraph. It's bigger and bolder. I want you to read this first and then go through the rest. And that's how we use it for establishing hierarchy. Here, down at the bottom, soft, soft, soft. Oh, big. You know, the value changed. Which one's more important? The one that's darkest is most important. Grayscale. A range is in tonal range. Grayscale is a range of values from black to white with shades of gray in between. We all know that. I hope we know that. Grayscale. Tonal range is the variation between the lightest and darkest values in a composition. A wide tonal range adds visual interest. So it's just meaning like black or white, or do you have like a lot of things going on to capture interest? The other one that we'll talk about, and I'll show you about, is the tonal range in grayscale. With dealing with colors, is it's good to know when you design which colors you're using and how do they translate into a grayscale variant, because you'd be very surprised at looking at color and then changing it to gray, which I'll show you this experiment, that you may think like all these colors are different and they'll stand out working side by side. But then if you change them to gray, they all are actually the very same tonal value, which then you should think like, oh, maybe I need to change the color system. And I'll show you that when we're done with this. Application values are used in layout design, typography, and image composition to create visual hierarchy and emphasis. I've talked about that. Mood and atmosphere, high key and low key. Designs with prominently light values can convey a sense of brightness, purity, optimism. So see how we're talking about that? That's high key. Think bright light, high, bright, and then low key, dark. So low, dark, I think these terms come from like camera and filming. Low key are dark and mysterious. Is that in here? Do I have that in here? Yep. Oh yeah. So I have a perfect one for this. It's very, it makes me laugh. And then balance and harmony, achieving a balance between light and dark values is essential for creating visually harmonious compositions. Let's check out some examples. Now, love going through these. Put that there. Let's zoom in. Get my hand going here. All right. So this piece, it is 2 colors. It is black. So I'm going to call it 100% black only. And then they have a teal color that is tonally changed by making it half-toned. So it is still pure color here, but it's made with dots. So like the more dots you have in an area, the more intense the color gets. If I have a few dots in an open area, those dots seem lighter in value. These dots seem darker in value. And that's what's going on with this. So it is a 2-color piece, but just with 2 colors, look at all the excitement that you can have going on. We have perfect sense of hierarchy, and we know what to read and where. Certain parts that are nice in the black stand out to us a little bit more, but don't draw the eye as much as this big text up here. And then all that like kind of entertainment stuff is in the background and is all in that teal, in that wonderful teal color. Oh. So it's amazing what you can do with just the 2 colors and no mixing. I always say I'm going to force students to do work like this. You will a little bit today, but yeah, it's a cool one. Let's check this out. Creating tonal value by overlapping transparencies of about the equal amount. And what does it do? It's a sea of different values and different colors, all overlapping, all changing the way that you kind of see what's going on here. I love this kind of stuff. This is so cool what happens. And it's something that's so easily done now. If you reference when you do your assignments, when you do your research assignments, and you're looking for those posters and album covers, and you go back, the further back in history, you go, this wasn't easy to do. These transparencies and figuring that out, you had to do it kind of quote unquote by hand. And now with computers, we can set up these transparencies and the computer does all the work for us. We don't have to sit there and like, if I, you would have to like mentally think, if I took this color and placed that color on that color, but 50%, what would it look like? And then you would make a solid color of that. It was much harder. Now it's just so easy to do these fun plays and work with this. It reminds me of something outside of the classroom. We got 3 flashlights for Halloween, really bright flashlights. We got one in red, one in green, and one in blue to light up our jack-o'-lanterns. So they had like glowing inside was a color and not just a candle. But the LEDs are pure color, RGB, which is what you look at in your screen. And I was able to show my son, like, this is like, take all these 3 flashlights, and if you put them all together, it makes white. And then look at the colors. I did this exact thing with an overlap different amounts. So he could see like the blue and the green make a teal, but if you put in the red, then it becomes a yellow. Like it's amazing at what really happens when you see that. And this is a print version of doing what you can do with light. And then that's a big difference too, is how we see stuff. And we talk about viewing is when we view on our screens, which we do now all the time, we're viewing in an illuminated document, let's say. light is being projected into our eyes instead of like a piece of print where light is being reflected into our eyes. And so that also does have effect on those tonal changes that we're talking about with value. And how do we perceive that value? It does look much different on a piece of paper than it does when you're looking at it on screen. And sometimes that's important to notify, when you're working with clients, that they see the whole thing always on the screen. And then when you see it in person, then they say, well, it doesn't look like it does on screen. Well, it's because we're looking at it fundamentally and scientifically in two different ways. And that affects like how the tone is. Like, oh, the poster's not as bright as it was on the screen. Well, there's a reason. So here, when we talk about tonal value, this is all like, this is seems very soft tonal value in the background. I brought this up again. This is similar. We have like a mix of things going on, transparencies, and like some of the tonal values can be seen through everything. It's like they kind of lightly hit, we call it hitting. Sometimes when you put ink on something, it's called a hit in like printers terms, but everything you can see it poking through here. All this value in this drawing is similar to the way they did, this value. There's no like grayscale, like there is a grayscale back here because this is photo. This is a photo, and the grayscale is done in a different way. Here's an old school drawing, a dissection of an eye, and it's all lines. It's all done with lines to get that tonal value. So I wanted to show this piece because this is like photography or photo tonal value compared to drawing tonal value, which is pretty cool difference in that one. And then again, we have, striking contrast. We have an angle going through here that kind of draws the eye as all dark, dark, dark. And then we have the red and red. So it's separated out using the tonal value, using the background to like bring everything together. It would look completely different if it didn't have that background. This one is pretty cool as well. If you can take it apart with your eyes, there's a white overlay that is a shape. That is this shape right here. Let's get my pen out. So, and the white shape goes to these lines, and it joins in the background. But so the background is just simply kind of like a splatter paint. You ever see those splatter paints where it like spins and you put ink in the middle and it shoots out? But the way that they made this white overlay, which is just flat lines, curved, makes it seem so dimensional that it comes in the middle here and then explodes out. It's like a reverse torus, I believe it's called, but so much can happen, and it's just based on putting a light value on top of something else. But how do you shape that light value? So you can really trick people in this, again, I use this word, tricking people into seeing something that's truly not there. It's just a bunch of white shapes on top of a splatter, but when combined creates this like very unique and different, because all the colors are dark here, and that's where the center squeeze is too. And so it adds so much to it, and really can fool people into seeing stuff that they don't really see. And then finally, the Batman. Deep, dark, brooding. It fits it so well. They did this great thing where the highlight is right here on his head, but the other highlight is up here where the bats are entering the bat cave or whatever. Like that's the symbolism we're getting, and the rising up and out from his dark doom. So much can be read into this. I think it's a really great poster in terms of kind of like the superhero cinematic movie posters. We get so used to seeing those ones where it's just a bunch of faces no matter what. Well, I can't cycle through, but you know what I mean, where it's like a big head with little heads all around it, but this is just like so great and brooding, and all dark value. You know, we talk about that high key, low key. This is a perfect example of that. Low light, low key, high key, bringing it in. So let's show you that experiment, and then I'll get into the assignments and go over those a little bit more. All right, so as you can see here, I have a bunch of squares. They're all the, upper, they're all the same colors, and then here is a set of colors, and here's a set of colors, and they're duplicated down here. Now, all I'm going to do is I'm going to take these colors and I'm going to turn them gray. And now you can see what happened and see how crazy the difference is. So value darker to lighter, but when you see them here, it doesn't come across that way. Here, we're like, oh, these are distinctly different colors. But when you look at these, they're darn near the same tonal value. There's just a little difference in that green one. But for the most part, they all read at the same tonal value. So when you're doing a design, you have to make sure that, like, if you are using sets of colors, like, are they also, besides the color being different, are they tonally different? Did you change any of the tone, or did you simply just change the color? So it's kind of crazy how that happens. I really like that little value experiment. You can do that with your pieces, like when you're designing in the future, is you just like take a screenshot of it and you take it into Photoshop, you can turn it gray super quick, and then you can be like, oh, I can see like everything's washed out. And you might hear that term being used of washed out, and that means everything is just kind of tonally the same. Nothing stands out. It's all washed out. So that's where we kind of come into that play of words when dealing with value in design. All right. Let's open the project. Now you are going to create 3 monochromatic compositions using value to define the design. What do you mean by that? Let's talk about it. And I'm going to show you, and I'm going to show you how to do the changes to how to make the monochromatic. This is a monochromatic composition. It is built with one color and its tints. I will show you how to make the spot color, but as you can see, again, you don't need everything to kind of create a composition. I got a mountains with kind of like a twilight sky, and got a moon, and there's really 3 values here. The moon is the same value as the snow. The mountains are the darkest value, and the mid value is the sky. And that's it. 1, 2, 3. 3 values out of like all of them that you can use, and it's monochromatic. So I want to show you that you can do a lot with just value. So what you need to do, and I've gone over this before, and it should be familiar, but I'm going to do it again. So first off, you can pick a color. So I'm gonna make a color box. Oops, layers. Let's go in my working layer. Your artwork here, and I'm gonna make a color box, and I'm gonna make my own color. So first, I'm taking the stroke off because we don't want the stroke on. I do not want to see black lines in the designs. All right, and then I'm gonna make my own color. Let's go like, oh, kind of like this pea green. Let's call it pea green. All right, so I have that color, but I want the tints of it. So I'm going to go back, and I'm going to go to the spot color here, and I'm going to click on that. And then I'm going to click on the plus. And then I can call it pea green, so I know it has a name. And I'm going to go from process color to spot color, and I'm going to hit OK. And now I have that spot color. And when I go to the palette here, I can totally change that to any value. And then so I can start making my design off of that. And I got something here. And then I can make that like go. And I'm like, oh, that's the darker color. And then I have up here. And then I, do this. And then that's the lighter color. And that's all I need to do is play around with those. So again, I'll pick another color and I'll do it once more because it's very important. Two very important factors in working with these. One, no black outlines on the design. Make sure the stroke is turned off. I'm going to go back. I'm going to click back to, I'm just going to pick a general color so I can get my color palette. And let's do like a brown. Brown's a color. So I'm going to, again, go here. I'm going to spot colors. I'm going to go to plus. I'm going to call it brown. I'm going to go to spot color. I'm going to hit OK. Now it's a spot color right there. And when I go here, oh, sometimes it takes a minute. I don't know why that is. Now I have it. Just click off of it, close it, open it, and I can do all of my values now. So these are the values of that. So have some fun. Create something. Theme it for the holidays if you want. Have a little bit of fun. But this is what I'm looking for. There's no black lines. You work on the right layer. You can turn off my layer and then make your 3 compositions. So that's how you do the monochromatic compositions. Finally, let's talk about the design practice. We are going to click on Paula Scher. We are going to download the file. I'm going to open up that folder. Here's the folder that it downloaded, a zip. Right click on it if you are on a PC and go to extract all. And then extract all and open up the extracted folder. Here on a Mac, you just double click on it and go to the folder. Again, we have links and we have the InDesign file. The InDesign file will say that you might be missing links. You can just go with it. So we are missing Paula's image and her 3 examples. So let's put those in. Like Illustrator, I'm going to go and find photo means the photo of Paula. So I'm going to kind of zoom in a bit. I'm going to go File, Place, and I'm going to go to where that file is. It just kind of went to Documents, but I want to go to Downloads, Paula Scher, Links, and PS Photo, Paula Scher Photo. And I'm going to place that in. Now, right away, it's huge. I'm just going to go up here, and I'm going to type in 25. And that just makes it smaller and easier for me to use. Then I'm going to go to the free transform tool and make it even smaller. But I'm going to make sure I hold down the shift. Do not free transform without holding down the shift. We do not want any screwed up images, meaning squashed or squished. I'm holding down shift as I pull that to that mark right there. There she is. Perfect. She's scaled right. She looks great. It's the perfect one. Okay, examples. I'm going to do File, Place, Example, and I'm going to grab all 3. I'm going to hold down Shift. I clicked on the first one, and I'm going to click on the third one. I'm going to hit Open. And as you can see, there's the blue number 3. I can't really show it, but it's there, which means there's 3 images hidden within this. And I'm going to click 1, 2, 3. They are all selected. So I'm just going to go right up here again and hit 25 to make them smaller. The other two can probably be even smaller. They're different sizes. So I'm going to hit 25 again, just to make it easier to start. And we can start with the lowest one. I'm going to line it up with that corner right here at the bottom. I'm going to click the free transform tool. I'm going to click and hold shift and scale it down. I'm going to center at Boston, get it lined up with the bottom and the right edge where there's the margin line that we use. That's a margin line that helps us know that no information should go past the margin. And I'm going to scale this until it is the same size as the swatch. I'm going to leave it right there. And then I'm going to bring in the noise, and I'm going to line that up with the edge again. Free transform tool, or hit E. You can just type the key E and it'll automatically do it. And then I'm going to get that one in there and get it the exact same size as the Boston. All right. Then we can bring in the text. So I got all that. I'm going to unlock everything else now. And I can start to move stuff in. Paula should just, her name should just go right to that. Same with at the bottom. The text goes in. And the background goes in. All the way out to the bleed. Then I'm going to go to, and then everybody make sure you're doing this. File, export, export as an Adobe Print PDF. And then here's the part, double check this. View PDF after exporting, and make sure the marks and bleeds, nothing is checked off, okay? Make sure nothing is checked. If the bleed and slug is checked, you're gonna get too big of an image. It's gonna include the background that we don't wanna include it. And then we're gonna hit export, gonna hit okay, and then there we are. And that's what I'm looking for. And that's how you do that. And then the book reading, you guys all know, I've mentioned for the book reading, the book, if you're smart, look online. If you still haven't done any of the book readings, we've got the semester's going quick. We're at the end of semester, week 3 out of 8. So make sure you get that in as well. Any questions, comments, or concerns before I let you go? All right, great. I'll see you on the discussion boards. And other than that, I'll see you next Tuesday. Take care.